Hello. Hello. Thank you for joining. Let me change this comment settings. Wait a minute. Hello, how is it going, guys? I'm going to be reading the book today. I just need to make sure that I have the settings here correctly. Thank you for joining. Let me see if I can put the background. There you go. Yay! It worked. So we're going to be reading The Inner Mediator today, and that's the plan. And I plan to read it for about 2 hours, and then I will upload it to YouTube after. So I'm not going to be following the comments. I'm not going to be able to see what questions you guys are doing. I have here the print version of the manuscript, and I'm still working on it. I have lipstick on my teeth. And I have family. It's Sunday, so there's family in the living room. I hope you guys don't mind the sound. But so that's the plan. The plan is to still have teeth stuff here showing. Okay, so again, say hi. My name is Carol. I am Carol Viana. I have teeth, lipstick on my teeth. Hi, my name is Carol Viana, and I am the author of a little book called The Inner Mediator. And it's here in the background here. It has a little bridge so you can see it. Isn't it cute? And I'm super excited. I launched it I published it on last Monday. And it's a lot of fun to have people talking about it. And so I want to wait another couple minutes before I start, give you time to settle. And my plan, the way that I want to do it is I want to read for a couple hours. I want to see how my body reacts to it and how many pages I can read in 2 hours. If I get close to 100 and some, I might finish. I don't know. So it will depend on how fast I read. I will try not to read too fast. I want to make sure that, thank you, Tali. I want to make sure that you guys enjoy it. So this is gonna go to YouTube. If you can only watch a few minutes right now, and my YouTube is the same as my TikTok. It's Carol Mediator. So you put one word, search Carol Mediator, and you can find me there on YouTube. And I upload my videos from TikTok. I upload them to YouTube. So this is so I don't get distracted with family. They are in the living room. So this is so I am like immersed and I am concentrated in what I'm doing. So I'm gonna wait for a couple more minutes, and let me invite some of my friends here. Let's make sure that I invite people to. How do I do this? Okay, so it looks like people are having a lot of fun in the living room. and I am planning on having fun here. I like this. I like the background with my little bridge. So if you can go visit my website, it's thebluebridgemediation.com. So before we start, let me know where you're starting, where you're listening from, where you are. And I am not going to be able to be reading much of what's going on, but let me know where you're from. Let me know in what country you are, and the book is available worldwide. My God, I have lipstick everywhere. There you go. Okay, so it's 1:06, so we have a few minutes there, and I'm excited to start, so I'll just get started. You guys ready? Okay, here we go. So the name of the book is The Inner Mediator. It's a reflective guide for inner conflict, compassion, and difficult conversations by Viana. Let's see. And then there is a dedication here. I'd like to dedicate this book to every part of me that waited patiently to be heard, and to those who taught me that healing can begin with a conversation. I would also like to dedicate this to a friend called Tada. If it was not for her, the inner mediator would not exist. She started it all, and I am grateful for her. You'll get to know her once you explore this book. Thank you, Tada. I love you. I would also like to dedicate my first book to my family. I am very blessed to have a family that supports me no matter what. And I have lived long enough to know that they really love me, and that's rare. Thank you. Okay, so then I have the copyright page, and there is a disclaimer here. So let me read the disclaimer. This book is intended for educational, reflective, and personal development purposes only. The content within these pages reflects the author's personal experiences, perspectives, imagination, and self-reflection practices. The exercises, visualizations, meditations, and conversations presented in this book are not intended to diagnose, treat, cure, or prevent any medical, psychological, or psychiatric condition. This book is not a substitute for professional medical advice, mental health treatment, counseling, psychotherapy, crisis intervention, or other qualified healthcare services. Readers experiencing significant emotional distress, suicidal thoughts, self-harm urges, trauma-related symptoms, severe anxiety, depression, or other mental health concerns are encouraged to seek support from a qualified healthcare professional, therapist, counselor, physician, or emergency services in their area. Participation in the exercises is voluntary. Readers are encouraged to adapt, pause, skip, or discontinue any exercises that feels overwhelming or unsuitable for their personal circumstances. By using this book, the reader acknowledges personal responsibility for their own well-being and decisions. So a gentle note before we begin. Page number 6. Before we begin this adventure together, I would like to share something important. This book explores emotions, memories, grief, fear, shame, illness, identity, chronic pain, healing, and the relationship we have with our own bodies and ourselves. Some exercises may bring forward feelings, memories, or experiences that are tender, emotional, or unexpected. Please move through these pages gently. You are not required to complete every exercise. You are not required to revisit every memory. You are not required to push yourself beyond what feels safe and supportive. Take breaks when needed. Drink water. I have my water here. Stretch. Rest. Talk to someone you trust. Return when you feel ready. Most importantly, remember that there is no right or wrong way to experience this work. Your journey belongs to you. My hope is that these pages help you approach yourself with greater compassion, curiosity, forgiveness, and love. As Shushu, my heart might say, take your time, my dear. We are not in a hurry. With love, Carol Viana. Okay. So I'm going to skip the table of contents and go to the welcome page. Welcome. Over the next 21 days, once you are done with part 1, you will be invited into conversations that many people never think to have. Let me put this on so I don't get distracted. Hold on. It's Sunday. There are people in the living room. Over the next 21 days, once you are done with part 1, you will be invited into conversations that many people never think to have. Conversations with emotions, conversations with body parts, conversations with our multidimensional selves, conversations with fears, conversations with our past, conversations with the parts of ourselves that we have been carrying burdens, quietly for a very long time. No, this is wrong. Wait. Conversations with the parts of yourself that have been carrying burdens quietly for a very long time. You do not need to fix these parts. You do not need to judge them. You do not need to agree with everything they have to say. Your only job is to listen. Because sometimes healing begins with a part of us when a part of us finally feels heard. For the next 21 days, we will create space for every voice within, and together we will practice the art of inner mediation. Introduction. Page number 10. Conflict is often something that we associate with other people. Difficult conversations, misunderstandings, emotional pain, or broken relationships. But during my recovery from a brain injury, I began to realize that some of the deepest conflicts in my life were happening internally, in the way I relate to myself, my emotions, my body, and my own inner dialogue. Over time, I started approaching my inner world with the same tools I had learned from mediation classes in law school: active listening, curiosity, acknowledgement. Moreover, I started to notice I was constantly mediating with myself with 100% knowledge of my thoughts. There was no room for a hidden agenda. I had to talk to myself with uttermost compassion and emotional honesty. Instead of fighting myself, I began experimenting with the possibility of creating understanding within myself. That process deeply changed the way I experienced healing, communication, and emotional regulation. The inner mediator is an invitation to explore your own inner dialogue with greater awareness and kindness. Through reflections and exercises inspired by mediation techniques, my hope is that these pages help you better understand yourself approach difficult emotions with more compassion, and create a more peaceful relationship with your inner world. One of the most important discoveries of my healing adventure was the realization that different parts of my body, mind, and emotional world seemed to have their own unique voices, needs, memories, and ways of communicating. My heart spoke differently than my mind. My fears spoke differently than my grief. Everybody, even body parts carrying pain, seemed to be asking for attention, compassion, understanding, and care. Over time, I stopped seeing my body as a machine and I began seeing it as a community. A living community made of countless cells, systems, emotions, memories, and experiences working together every day to support me. Whether this awareness is literal, symbolic, spiritual, psychological, or simply a useful exercise in self reflection, it's for you to decide. What matters is that when I began listening to these inner voices with kindness, something changed. I became more compassionate towards myself. I became more aware of my emotions. I became more curious about my pain instead of fighting it. And little by little, I began creating peace within myself. This work is based on a simple idea: every part of you deserves a voice. Over the next 21 days, you will be invited into conversations with emotions, body parts, memories, beliefs, hopes, fears, and aspects of yourself that may have been waiting a very long time to be heard. You do not need to fix them. You do not need to judge them. You do not need to agree with everything they have to say. Your only job is to listen. Because sometimes healing begins when a part of us finally feels seen. Welcome to the practice of inner mediation. Let's begin. L'aventure commence. Before we begin our conversation with the heart, I want to tell you how my adventure started. Several years ago, I was involved in a serious car accident. I was sitting in the passenger seat when our vehicle was struck from behind by a drunk driver. The impact came at an angle, causing my body to twist violently inside the car. My head hit the window and the ceiling. My right knee hit my chin and throat. My hands hit my face and entered my mouth, where I bit them. My shoulders and arms were also bitten. My neck, jaw, hips, and legs absorbed forces they were never designed to absorb. My torso, neck, and jaw whiplashed and spun in different directions while the seat belt held my hips. The experience left me with a brain injury and a condition affecting my proprioception, the body's ability to sense its own position and movement. One of the strangest consequences is that I often cannot tell where the sensations are coming from. If I close my eyes, I sometimes struggle to sense where parts of my body are located in space. It was frightening at first. Now I use it as a superpower. It helps with meditation. One night, around 3 o'clock in the morning, I woke up to something unusual. My left leg was standing upright by itself. At first, I thought I was dreaming. Then I felt a panic wave. My leg was shaking. The leg was the one experiencing a panic attack, not the whole me. Page 13. I didn't know if my leg was experiencing pain, numbness, confusion, or something else entirely, but the panic attack seemed to be local. Only the left leg was freaking out. The other leg was shaking a little, but it was on the bed. Instinctively, I reached out and placed my hand on my left thigh. The shaking stopped. I gently rubbed my leg and spoke to it the way someone might comfort a frightened toddler. It's okay, I'm here, you're safe, back to sleep, I love you. To my surprise, the panic settled. My body relaxed, and I fell asleep. The same thing happened again and again and again. Eventually, I gave my left leg a nickname. Her name was Tada, simply because she would tada herself out of nowhere. At first, the idea of a tada leg was playful, almost silly. But something interesting was happening. Whenever I spoke to Tada with kindness, I felt calmer. The fear diminished, the tension softened. Sometimes the pain itself seemed easier to carry. I remember telling my therapist at the time about a, quote, localized panic attack and calming down my leg by quote, talking to it. But my therapist didn't give the experience much attention, so I kept it to myself. It felt silly to talk to my doctor about my tada leg, so I didn't. Years later, I found out that neuroscientists are acknowledging, quote, localized panic attacks. I hope this book helps other people experiencing what I have experienced with tada. But let's continue. Then one night, while half asleep, I began imagining little heart emojis attaching themselves to little leg emojis inside my mind. Every leg emoji received a heart emoji, then another, until my imagination was filled with emoji hearts. Tada relaxed, the panic passed, and for the first time I began wondering, if my leg has a voice in my inner world, who else does? Almost immediately, I sensed a response. Moi. The answer surprised me. The experience felt clear, loving, and unmistakable. Without fear, I asked, who are you? I replied as if I had not recognized the voice. And the response that appeared in my awareness was, c'est moi ton cœur, Carole, chouchou. It's me, your heart, Carol, chouchou. Chouchou means darling in French. That moment changed everything. What followed was years of curiosity, reflection, healing, and inner conversations. I began exploring what might happen if I approached my body, my emotions, and inner experiences with compassion instead of criticism. The accident had filled me with self-doubt. I had lost the ability to do so many things, and I didn't know if those abilities would ever come back. I used to rely on my brain for everything. It was my whole identity. To top it off, I would have horrific panic attacks where I thought would play on repeat inside my head. I'm going to be like this forever. It was time I changed my inner conversations, my inner world. But could I? Whether these conversations were psychological, symbolic, spiritual, imaginative, or something else entirely mattered less and less to me over time. What mattered was that they helped me heal. And that is the adventure I would like to share with you. In case you are wondering, Chouchou speaks French to my mind, my emotions, and my body. A long time ago, a boy told me that French was the language of love. My heart believed him, and she never changed her mind. So part 1, learning the language of the body and why Blue Bridge mediation. Most people know how to criticize themselves. Many know how to doubt themselves. Thank you, Sharon. Many know how to push through pain, suppress emotions, or become trapped in cycles of internal conflict. But very few know how to mediate with themselves. Blue Bridge mediation and the inner mediation methodology were born from a simple idea. What if we approached ourselves with the same compassion, curiosity, and willingness to listen that we would offer someone we deeply love? For years, I believed healing meant fixing what was wrong. Then life taught me something different. After a traumatic brain injury, I found myself navigating pain, confusion, fear, grief, and a body that no longer felt familiar. I spent countless hours trying to understand what was happening inside of me. And little by little, I began listening, not just to my thoughts, to my body, to my emotions, to the parts of me that felt frightened, overwhelmed, ashamed, exhausted, hopeful, playful, and brave. What began as an act of survival became an ongoing conversation. Page 17. And those conversations changed my life. I discovered that when we listen with compassion, parts of ourselves that once felt isolated begin to reconnect. The mind and the body begin speaking again. Fear softens. Shame relaxes. The heart becomes easier to hear. A bridge begins to form. That is the meaning of Blue Bridge. A bridge between thought and feeling. A bridge between pain and compassion. A bridge between conflict and understanding. A bridge between who we have been and who we are becoming. The color blue reminds me of calm waters, open skies, and the quiet space that allows reflection to occur. It reminds me that healing does not have to be rushed. Sometimes it begins with a single conversation. This book is an invitation to build that bridge within yourself. Not to become perfect, not to eliminate every difficult emotion, not to silence fear, but to create a relationship with yourself rooted in curiosity, compassion, forgiveness, and understanding. Because when every part of us has a voice, something remarkable happens. We stop fighting ourselves and we begin coming home. What is inner mediation? Most people are familiar with conflict between people, a disagreement between spouses, a misunderstanding between friends, a dispute between companies, a conflict between neighbors. As a mediator, I learned that many conflicts begin to soften when people feel heard. Not when they agree, not when they change their minds, not when someone wins, when they feel heard. One day I realized something surprising. The same principle applies within ourselves. Many of us carry conflicts inside. The mind wants one thing, the body wants another. Fear says, don't do it. Hope says, why not? Grief wants to stay. Joy wants to dance. The inner child wants attention. The adult wants to be productive. The heart wants compassion. The mind wants certainty. Sometimes these parts seem to pull us in different directions. And when they do, we often choose a side. We silence fear. We ignore grief. We criticize the body. We shame the inner child. We push through exhaustion. We argue with ourselves. Inner mediation offers a different approach. Instead of forcing one part to win, we invite every party to speak. We listen. We become curious. We ask questions. We create space for understanding. In my own life, inner mediation began unexpectedly. After a traumatic brain injury, I started having conversations with my body. At first, it felt unusual. Then it felt natural. My heart had something to say. My fear had something to say. Even my pain had something to say. And the more I listened, the more compassion I felt. Not because the pain disappeared, not because every problem was solved, but because I stopped treating parts of myself as enemies. I started treating them as members of the same loving family. Inner mediation is not about replacing medical care, therapy, or professional support. It's an imaginative, compassionate practice that helps us explore our inner world through curiosity, reflection, and dialogue. Some people will experience these conversations as imagination, some as intuition, some as creativity, some as prayer, some as meditation. There is no correct way to experience them. The goal is not to prove whether the conversations are real. The goal is to discover what becomes possible when we listen. Throughout this book, you will meet many members of my inner community. Throughout this book, you will meet... Oh, there was a typo. Chuchu, Tada, Sunshine, Fifi, Hippolyte Cage, and many others. You may discover your own companions along the way. You may find that your heart has a name, your fear has a story, your grief has wisdom, your body has been trying to communicate for a very long time. This book is an invitation to listen, to meditate the occasional grievances, or to mediate the occasional grievances and misunderstandings, to build bridges, and to remember that every part of you deserves compassion. Because when every part of us has a voice, something remarkable happens. We stop asking, "What's wrong with me?" and we begin asking, "What is trying to be heard?" The heart as a mediator. When I think about the role of the heart, I think about trust. Not because the heart is always comfortable, not because the heart always tells us what we want to hear, because the heart is honest. The mind is extraordinary. It solves problems. It plans. It analyzes. It imagines. It protects. But sometimes the mind becomes afraid. And when fear takes over, the mind can convince us of things that are not true. It can tell us we are not good enough. It can tell us we are alone. It can tell us we will never heal. It can tell us we are broken. It can tell us we are unlovable. It can tell us to keep smiling when we are hurting. It can tell us to keep quiet when we need to speak. It can tell us to say yes when every part of us is screaming no. The mind is not trying to deceive us. Most of the time, it's trying to protect us. But protection and truth are not always the same thing. The heart operates differently. The heart knows when we are grieving. The heart knows when we are afraid. The heart knows when we love. The heart knows when something feels wrong. The heart knows when something feels right. The heart may not know what to do about those feelings, but it knows they're there. That is why in my inner world, the body trusts the heart. The heart does not have to be the smartest voice in the room. It does not have to win every argument. It simply has to tell the truth. And truth creates trust. The worst lies are often not the lies we tell others. The worst lies are the ones we tell ourselves. I am fine. I don't need help. It doesn't hurt. It doesn't matter. I don't matter. The heart hears those words and quietly whispers, "That's not true." Over time, I discovered my heart had become the mediator of my inner world. When fear and mind disagree, my heart listens. When grief and joy sit together, my heart listens. When the body hurts and the mind wants to push through, my heart listens. She does not rush to judgment. She does not choose sides. She creates space for every voice to be heard. That's what mediators do. And perhaps this is why the heart is such a good one. A good mediator is not the loudest voice. A good mediator is the one trusted by everyone at the table. The body trusts the heart. Fear trusts the heart. The inner child trusts the heart. Even the mind trusts the heart. Page 23. Because everyone knows that when the heart speaks, she speaks with love. And love has a remarkable way of telling the truth. In this book, you will meet my heart, Shushu. Feel free to imagine her as the way you would imagine a friend of your own heart. And if you learn a thing or two that comes from Shushu, and that helps you cope with life in any way, that would mean the world to me. Let me know. Reflection. Think about a time when mind and heart disagreed. What did the mind say? What did the heart say? Looking back, which one was telling the truth? What would your heart like you to know today? Take a moment. Place a hand over your heart. Listen. The heart rarely shouts, but it has been speaking to you all along. The way we talk to ourselves. Many of us speak to ourselves in ways we would never speak to someone we love. Sometimes we have inner dialogues we would never have with a stranger. Inner dialogues we would never have with a stranger. Without even noticing it, our inner dialogue can become filled with criticism, shame, impatience, or emotional aggression. We may catch ourselves saying things like, "I'm so stupid. I always ruin everything. What's wrong with me? I'll never be loved." Over time, these words begin to shape the emotional environment we live in internally. Pause for a moment and ask yourself, who taught me to speak to myself this way? Sometimes these voices come from childhood experiences, painful relationships, fear, rejection, perfectionism, trauma, or years of emotional survival. Regardless of where they came from, healing often begins when we stop repeating these patterns automatically and begin responding to ourselves differently. One practice that might help is imagining that the part of you repeating these harsh words is not evil or broken, but exhausted, afraid, protective, wounded, or simply repeating what they once learned. Instead of attacking that part of yourself, try gently calling it into conversation. You may say, "Hey, love, it's no longer okay for us to speak to ourselves this way. I know you may have learned these words a long time ago, and I know you may be trying to protect me in your own way. But from now on, we're going to begin speaking to our hearts with more kindness, patience, and respect." Changing our inner dialogue does not happen overnight. This is a practice, a process, an act of inner mediation repeated gently over time. Sometimes healing begins with something as small as changing the way we speak to ourselves in moments of pain. It starts with, "I am sorry." Self-love and Ho'oponopono. One practice that deeply helped me during recovery was Ho'oponopono, a Hawaiian practice centered around reconciliation, compassion, responsibility, forgiveness, and emotional healing. In difficult moments, instead of fighting my emotions or attacking myself internally, I began experimenting with directing gentle words towards the parts of me that were suffering. Sometimes I would quietly repeat, "I love you. I am sorry. Please forgive me. Thank you." I began offering these words internally to fear, anger, grief, overwhelm, pain, anxiety, exhaustion, and even the harsh inner voices that constantly criticized me. Instead of treating those parts of myself like enemies, I began approaching them as wounded parts asking for attention, acknowledgement, understanding, or emotional safety. If these parts are all you need to talk to them with love in order to change their pattern. You may imagine your heart acting as an inner mediator, sitting calmly with its voices and emotions and offering compassion instead of resistance. For example, pain, I see you. My pain's name is Charlie. I'm sorry for how much you've been carrying. Please forgive me for the moments when I ignored you or fought against you. Thank you for trying to protect me. I love you. Or fear, thank you for trying to keep me safe. My fear's name is Fifi, and she is represented by a hungry T-Rex. Fifi. T-Rexes love lawyers. Anger, thank you for showing me that something inside me needs attention. As emotions arise, you may continue gently offering Ho'oponopono inwardly. There is no need to force anything to disappear immediately. The goal is not emotional perfection. The goal is creating a safer and more compassionate inner environment where your emotions, thoughts, and inner experiences no longer feel rejected, silenced, or alone. Over time, you may notice moments of softening, moments where your inner world begins to feel calmer, safer, quieter, or more emotionally settled. The idea is whenever you hear an intrusive thought, for example, I am so stupid, you reply with a full Ho'oponopono for that voice. I love you. I'm sorry. Please forgive me. Yes, you're asking yourself for forgiveness for having such thoughts. Thank you. Create the habit. Every intrusive thought, words, or visuals are met with Ho'oponopono. See what happens over time. Start now. Returning home to yourself. Tips to rebuild trust with yourself. After painful experiences, trauma, heartbreak, illness, emotional overwhelm, or difficult seasons in life, many people quietly lose trust in themselves. We stop trusting our feelings. We stop trusting our bodies. We even stop trusting our gut feeling. Yum Yum will have a word with you about that later. We stop trusting our decisions, our intuition, emotions, or ability to navigate life safely. Returning home to yourself means slowly rebuilding that relationship again. Not through perfection, but through consistency, honesty, compassion, and emotional presence. Below are a few gentle practices that may help you rebuild trust with yourself over time. Speak to yourself with honesty instead of emotional violence. Keep small promises to yourself. Rest when your body asks for rest. Allow your emotions to speak before trying to silence them. Practice listening inward without immediate judgment. Notice the difference between fear and intuition. Create moments of joy, beauty, softness, and emotional safety in your daily life. Forgive yourself for being human. Apologize to yourself when you abandon your own needs. Practice compassion towards the parts of you still learning how to heal. Celebrate small moments of progress. Remember that healing does not need to happen all at once. Over time, I began realizing that healing was not about becoming someone entirely new. It was about returning to myself with greater tenderness, back to my body, back to my heart, back to emotional honesty, back to self compassion, back to the parts of myself I had ignored, criticized, silenced, or abandoned for too long. Perhaps this is what inner mediation truly is: learning how to stop treating yourself like an enemy, learning how to become a safer home for yourself emotionally, mentally, and physically, learning how to sit beside yourself with compassion during both the beautiful and difficult moments of life. As you start with this practice, I invite you to remember you don't need to heal perfectly in order to deserve love. You do not need to become emotionally flawless in order to deserve compassion. You are already worthy of kindness now. Take a slow breath. Place your hand gently over your heart if that feels comfortable. And remind yourself, we are learning. We are healing. We are finding our way back home to ourselves. My story. Oof. Before the accident, there was another version of me. I look back on her often, not with sadness, with compassion. She had dreams, big dreams. She wanted to see the world. She wanted to understand people. She wanted to understand conflict. Growing up in Brazil in a military family, I was fascinated by places where people lived through war, division, and violence. Brazil had not experienced war in over a century, and I found myself wondering what it would be like to live in a world so different from my own. That curiosity eventually led me to study law, and it took me to France. As a young woman, I traveled to Paris to study at the Alliance Française. I arrived carrying a suitcase, 1,000 questions, and a heart that was far more impressionable than I realized. Paris changed me. I fell in love with the language. I fell in love with the culture. I fell in love with long conversations, revolutionary ideas, and the belief that words mattered. Oh, I had to drag the puzzle there for a minute. Sorry. Um, I stopped at, I fell in love with long conversations, revolutionary ideas, and the belief that words mattered. And yes, I fell in love with a French boy. In case you are wondering, yes, that is where Chouchou got her name, in Paris. He told me that French was the language of love. My heart believed him. She still does. While my mind studied the language and culture, my heart adopted an accent. To this day, Chouchou speaks French with a French accent. Life carried me in many different directions after that, away from the boy. I built a career, I got married, I shared my life with two brilliant greyhounds, Banksy and Chanel. Banksy helped me breathe after the accident. He was my lungs. Chanel was my heart. I worked in technology sales and genuinely loved what I did. I met wonderful people during this phase in my life. For a time, I felt though I was standing at the peak of a mountain I had spent years climbing. Then life changed that fateful Friday night. Some things did not change all at once. Some change happened. Some changes happen gradually. Others arrive at full speed. Another relationship fell apart under the pressure of life itself. Looking back now, I can see that the greatest heartbreak of my life was not losing my first meaningful relationship when I was in my 20s. It was losing that version of myself. The girl who expected life to unfold in a certain way. The girl who believed she knew where the road was leading. The girl who thought she had time. Years later, after the relationship with the French boy had fallen apart, French returned to my life once again when I found myself in Quebec for a few years. People often told me my French sounded proper, Parisian even. I always smiled when they said that. Part of my heart never really left France. Part of my heart never forgot the boy. For a very long time, my mind believed it had made the correct decisions. The practical decisions, the sensible decisions, the adult decisions. Chouchou remained skeptical but respectfully dormant while I was in love with other people. You see, Chouchou carried her own opinions. She carried her own memories, and Paris is still very special to her. Chouchou, above all, carried a love story that never completely disappeared, although she buried it so deep I'd go years not recalling it, distracted with life, with people, with places and circumstances. Then came the accident, the inevitable divorce, and a few years later the summer of the Olympic Games in France. Something shifted inside of me as I watched the opening ceremony in utter disbelief. I was meant to be there. How come I was not? And where in the crowd was my my French family? I needed to know. My world fell apart. My mind finally stopped arguing, stopped defending, stopped explaining. And my mind fell to its knees before the heart. The mind asked for forgiveness, not because it had acted with bad intentions, but because it had forgotten to listen to Chouchou. Chouchou listened to what the mind had to say, and then, as she always does, she forgave. She forgave so I could keep on living with joy instead of regret. Was my alarm. She forgave so I could keep on living with joy instead of regret. Life did not unfold the way either of us expected, There were twists, some emotional, some physical, one of them quite literal. Today I walk through the world with a twisted body, and the poor thing still aches. But it walks, and I'm grateful. I truly believe we are okay now. Because somewhere along the way I learned something far more important than how to avoid pain. I learned how to love myself. Not the version of me who existed before. Not the version of me I imagined I would become. The version of me who is here now, twisted and all. And that perhaps is where this story truly begins. And if life performs one final miracle and I somehow find that boy, again after all these years, there is only one thing I would want to say. I am sorry. Sorry for not listening more carefully to my heart. Sorry for betraying Shushu. Sorry for hurting your heart. Time has taught me many things, but perhaps the most important is this. Love is not something to win. It's something to honor. I do not know where life carried him. I do not know who he became. I only know that my heart still smiles when she thinks of him. And wherever he may be, I hope life has been kind to him. I hope he has been loved. And I hope he forgives me. Part 2. I need water. Part 2, the 21-day inner mediation adventure. How you guys doing? You guys okay? Everybody okay? Ready for part 2? Oof. So I've been reading for 1 hour. And this is page 35. Here we go. We are now going to start a 21-day practice. You don't need to follow it to a T. These are my suggestions. The first body part I talked to, the first body part that talked to me was my left leg, tada. I don't know what is going on with your body, but every body part, even if the body part is not there anymore or never was, has nerves assigned to them in the brain, and I believe they all, quote, think. That is my humble opinion. I believe that even if you have lost your tada, I'm sorry, your brain still has a spot for it, so you can talk to your missing tada. Tada is the left leg. Try it. Say Ho'oponopono to your tada and let me know how it feels. Let's start. Day 1, talking to my heart. Day 1, we begin with the heart. Not the symbolic heart, not the romantic heart, the real heart, the organ. Your heart has neurons too, and there is a part of your brain dedicated to it. Imagine that part thinking its own thoughts from their perspective. Today, we talk to the heart that has been quietly beating inside your chest since before you were born. Take a moment to place your hand over your heart. If that feels uncomfortable, simply bring your awareness there. Notice what happens. You do not need to force anything. You do not need to hear a voice. You do not need to have a mystical experience. Simply arrive. Now imagine yourself gently approaching your heart. See if you can find its center. Ow. Its core. Its quietest and yet loudest place. The place where it remembers itself. Before expectations. Before responsibilities. Before heartbreak. Before fear. Before anyone told you who you were supposed to become. And as you approach, I invite you to send your heart a little gift. Imagine a small love emoji floating softly towards it. Then another, then another. Let your heart receive them. Page 37. No conditions, no expectations, just love in emoji language. If emotions arise, welcome them. Joy, sadness, numbness, relief, gratitude, anger, confusion, curiosity. All emotions are welcome here. I would also like to pause and acknowledge the hearts that have endured extraordinary journeys, the hearts that have survived surgeries, the hearts supported by pacemakers, the hearts that have received transplants, the hearts living with illness, the hearts carrying scars, the hearts that have been broken so many times they no longer recognize themselves. Your heart is welcome here too, especially yours. Now ask your heart a simple question. What is something you would like me to know? Do not force an answer, simply listen. Then, if it feels right, travel back in time. Imagine your heart remembering itself as a baby, long before language, long before worry, long before self-doubt. Can you imagine your very first giggle? Not the exact sound, not the exact moment, just the possibility that somewhere within you that giggle still exists. That tiny burst of joy, that first expression of delight, that first evidence that your heart already knew how to love life. When you find it, place that giggle inside a treasure chest. Yes, a treasure chest. Some treasures are gold, some treasures are jewels, and some treasures are memories of who we were before the world became complicated. Place your giggle there. Can you imagine a chest and a giggle in emoji? Protect the giggle. Honor it. It belongs to you. And whenever life feels heavy, remember, your heart has carried that treasure all along. A message from Chuchu. Dear reader, I do not know what your relationship with your heart is like. Perhaps you are close friends. Perhaps you have drifted apart. Perhaps you have never spoken before. Throughout this book, you will see me often. My name is Chuchu, And I'd like you to imagine me as a friend visiting your heart, a friend who's curious, a friend who listens, a friend who believes every part of you deserves kindness. As we spend time together, I invite you to set aside the masks you wear in everyday life. You do not need to impress me. You do not need to perform for me. You do not need to be strong for me. You only need to be yourself. If you already have a loving relationship with your heart, I'm delighted to meet you. If you do not, that is perfectly okay too. Perhaps I can be a role model. Perhaps I can help you take your first step. Perhaps together we can remind your heart that it has always been worthy of love. Shall we begin? With love, Shushu. Day 2, talking to my hands. Before we speak to our hands, I'd like to tell you a story. Many years ago, during the conflict in Libya called the Arab Spring, I learned about a little boy who had lost both of his hands in an explosion. He later explained what happened. I saw a bright orange thing and I grabbed it. I thought it was a toy. He was only a child. At the time, I had started a project called Postcards for Libya. People from around the world would send postcards to children recovering in hospitals in Tunisia. A friend of mine and his wife would visit the hospitals in Tunis, the capital, and distribute them. One day, my friend sent me a photograph. There was this little boy. He had received the postcard. Because he no longer had hands, the postcard hung around his neck. And he proudly showed it to everyone in the hospital with a huge smile. Someone cared about him. Someone on the other side of the world had taken the time to write to him. I have never forgotten that photograph. It lives in my heart to this day. And whenever I begin talking to my own hands, whenever I begin taking my own hands for granted, I remember him. Today, I invite you to look at your hands. Really look at them. Notice their shape. Notice their lines. Notice everything they have done for you throughout your life. If you are one of the lucky ones with working hands, your hands feed you. They dress you. They wash you. They comfort you. They create. They build. They hold. They protect. They carry. They connect you to the world. Remember, there are people whose hands do not work. Hands that shake. Hands that ache. Hands that have grown weak. Hands that cannot button a shirt. Hands that cannot hold a spoon without assistance. Hands that can no longer write, paint, cook, create, or embrace the people they love the way they once did. And still, they are worthy of love. Today I would like to speak directly to the hands. Attention, physical body. If you identify as hands, this message is for you. I love you wholeheartedly. Thank you for everything you have done for me. Thank you for every meal you prepared. Thank you for every object you carried. Thank you for every page you turned. Thank you for every tear you wiped away. Thank you for every person you held. Thank you for every act of care, no matter how small. If you are tired, I understand. If you hurt, I understand. If you carry memories, I understand. Perhaps your hands remember mistakes. Perhaps they remember things they wish they had never touched. Perhaps they remember doors they opened, contracts they signed, or goodbyes they waved, dreams they reached for. Forgive them wholeheartedly. Forgive every bone, every vessel, every cell, every atom they carry. Give them a clean slate card. No shame, no guilt. Set them free. A message from Chuchu. Dear hands, I release you from the burden of the past. I forgive you for every signature that led somewhere unexpected. I forgive you for every choice made with the information we had at the time. I forgive you for every attempt that did not become an outcome we hoped for. You were never responsible for carrying guilt. Ow. I know you love one another in ways the mind will never understand. You are an extension of me. Thank you for sharing love. Day 3, the face. Today we are going to meet the face. Before we begin, I'd like you to find a mirror. I need a mirror. I'd like you to find a mirror, so this is my mirror. Nothing fancy. A bathroom mirror will do. A compact mirror. Even your phone camera if that's what you have handy right now. Now take a moment to look at your face. Not to evaluate it, not to judge it, not to decide whether it's attractive enough, young enough, symmetrical enough, or worthy enough. Simply look. Today we are going to separate the face from what we imagine other people see when they look at us. Because those are not always the same thing. When someone looks at you, what do they see? Do they see the real you? Do they see your fears, your hopes, your kindness, your grief, your courage, your story? Probably not. Most people only see a small fraction of who you are. But the face has been with you through all of it. The face has witnessed every chapter of your life, every laugh, every tear, every heartbreak. Every victory, every mistake, every lesson, every version of you. So let's begin with gratitude. If you have a face, say, I'm grateful for my face. Pause. Notice how that feels. Easy? Awkward? Comforting? Difficult? There is no wrong answer. Now ask yourself, When was the last time my face smiled with my heart? Not a polite smile, not a social smile, a real smile. The kind that begins with side and reaches the eyes. When was the last time I said something loving to my face? When was the last time I thanked it? When was the last time I looked at it with kindness? I was blessed with a face that resembles my father. Sometimes the resemblance is so strong that people who knew him stop and stare. For a brief moment, they think they are seeing him again. And I love that. When I look at my face, I see pieces of someone I loved. Perhaps you do too. Do you know your parents? Do you resemble them? What parts of your family live in your face? Your eyes, your smile, your expression, your laugh, your voice. Your face may be carrying stories older than you realize. Now look gently into the mirror. Imagine your face has a voice. What would it want you to know? Has it been feeling appreciated, ignored, criticized, celebrated? What emotions arise as you look at yourself? Curiosity. A message from Chuchu. My beloved face, thank you for smiling for me. Thank you for laughing for me. Thank you for crying from me when I need tears. Sorry. Thank you for crying for me when I needed tears. Today I have a special request. Would you let me borrow your expressions for a little while? I would like to see what it feels like to smile with your smile, to laugh with your laugh, to marvel with your eyes, to express my love through your cheeks, your lips, and your eyebrows. So let us merge just for a moment. You can keep your beautiful face. I simply wish to add my heart face to it. A little more wonder, a little more compassion, a little more kindness, a little more joy. And perhaps if we do this often enough, people will begin to notice something special. Not a prettier face, not a younger face, a loved face. A face that knows it's loved. Thank you for sharing your expressions with me. I promise to fill them with wonder whenever I can. With all my love, Chuchu. Day 4, talking to Ashley, my lungs. Today we are going to meet the lungs. My lungs have a name. She's one entity with two sides. Her name is Ashley, or simply Ash. I never met Ashley. She was a young woman who lived with cystic fibrosis and struggled to breathe all her life. She passed away at the age of 21. I love her sister very much, and when my lungs chose the name, I felt it was their way of honoring Ashley's memory. Because of my accident, breathing became difficult. Because of the way my body twisted during the impact, my ribs shifted and felt tight, and breathing often became painful. During severe pain waves, I sometimes find myself breathing rapidly, almost like a panting dog, simply trying to get through the moment. One day I decided to speak to my lungs, or perhaps they decided to speak to me. The first thing I saw was a dragon. Not lungs, not ribs, not anatomy, a dragon. We had an imaginary conversation. Then the dragon looked at me and said, I am your lungs. My name is Ashley, because of Ashley. And when I breathe, it is like fire. Page 49. I understood immediately. Breathing burned. Every breath felt like effort. Every breath required courage. But later I asked Ashley another question. Is there another reason you chose to appear as a dragon? And she replied, I am strong and powerful, but I also love to fly. I love that answer because my mind is afraid of heights. So I imagine Ashley flying, higher and higher, effortlessly, freely, without pain, without fear. And for a moment I felt free too. The truth is, like my mind, my heart is not especially fond of heights either. Ashley, however, is not afraid of anything. Today I invite you to meet your own lungs. Close your eyes for a moment. Notice your breath. Do not change it. Do not control it. Simply notice. Your lungs have been breathing for you every moment of your life. While you slept, while you cried, while you laughed, while you worried, while you healed, while you read these words. Take a long breath in. Then another. Now ask, quote, if my lungs had a voice, what would they like me to know? And if your lungs had a form, what would they be? A dragon? A bird? A whale? A cloud? A tree? Something else entirely? There is no right answer. Simply listen. Your lungs may surprise you. Imagine little peace emojis the size of molecules and imagine them binding to oxygen. Now imagine your lungs inhaling peace emojis and the peace emojis binding to the lungs themselves. Imagine you can inhale peace and exhale what your lungs no longer need: pain, grief, sadness, or fear. Each inhale brings in more peace. Each exhale leaves you lighter and more full of inner peace. Let the peace emojis enter your blood circulation and attach to each cell. Every cell gets peace. Every self. A message from Chuchu. My beloved Ashley, today I would like to thank you for taking me flying. I was nervous, you know. You know how I feel about heights. The ground is lovely, The ground is predictable. The ground does not unexpectedly disappear beneath one's feet. But you insisted. Trust me, you said. So I climbed onto your back. You spread your wings. And before I could change my mind, whoosh, we were in the sky. At first, I held on for dear life. I squeezed so hard I am faintly certain you laughed at me. Then I looked down. The world seemed so small. The worries seemed so small. The fears seemed so small. And the pain seemed so small. And for the first time in a very long time, I forgot to be afraid. The wind danced around us. The clouds drifted past. The sun warmed my face. And you flew. Oh, Ashley, how beautifully you fly. Strong enough to carry me. Gentle enough to make me feel safe. Free enough to remind me that life is bigger than my fears. By the time we landed, I was laughing. You were right. It was fun. Terrifying, but fun. Thank you for showing me the sky. Thank you for reminding me that sometimes healing means lifting our eyes above the horizon so we can gain perspective. And thank you for being a dragon. I cannot imagine having ordinary lungs. With all my love, Shushu. P.S. Next time, please warn me before the pirouettes. Day 5. The fascia. Deep tissue is deep issue. How you guys doing? Is everything okay? So it's 3:32. I'm gonna read for another half hour and then we can check again to see how we're doing. Thank you for staying with me. Today we're going to meet the fascia. Before we begin, I would like to introduce a phrase that I often use when speaking to my body. Attention, physical body. If you identify as fill in the blank, this message is for you. I love you wholeheartedly. You may fill in the blank however you wish. Heart, hands, face, lungs, pain, fear, joy, or even your entire body. For many years I had never heard of fascia. Then came the accident, and suddenly I became very aware of it. My body hurt in ways I didn't know how to describe. The pain was so intense that I jokingly called it delirious delicious. A strange combination of overwhelming sensation, confusion, intensity, frustration, and fascination. Eventually, I stopped talking only to my body. I started talking to pain itself. Over time, the pain became a character in my inner world. Today, her name is Charlie. When pain waves arrive, I do not always fight them. Sometimes I pause. Sometimes I breathe. Sometimes I speak to Charlie. And often, I speak directly to my fascia. I tell her, I love you. You're safe. You can relax now. Then I allow my body to move. Not to perform, not exercise. Move. Instinctively, naturally, privately. Sometimes my body begins a strange little dance, a movement I would never perform for anyone else, a movement that belongs only to me. I call it my pain dance. It feels as though my body is trying to remember itself, trying to untwist, trying to reorganize herself, trying to find comfort. Whether this process is physical, emotional, symbolic, or all of the above, I cannot say for certain. What I do know is that listening helped. As my healing adventure continued, I began noticing something else. The more forgiveness I practiced, the lighter I felt. Not only emotionally, physically. I began forgiving old disappointments, old arguments, old mistakes, old versions of myself, old wounds, people who hurt me, people I may have hurt, situations I could not change. I forgave everything I could think of. Then I forgave some things again and again. Not because anyone deserved it, but because my body seemed grateful every time I let something go. Not as an obligation, not as perfection, but as a gift I give myself. You see, forgiveness is something you do to yourself. It is ultimately a form of self love. If you hate what somebody did to you, that hate is inside your body, eating you alive. That person is probably completely oblivious to your hate. They probably don't care. That's their problem. The woman that hit my car was extraordinarily drunk and probably high on drugs too. I cannot live my life with hate, anger, resentment, or wishing bad things happen to her. She got her handcuffs that night and a few nights in jail. I don't know what else. I don't care. I let go of any negative feelings towards her completely. Why? Because those negative feelings would ultimately hurt me, not her. I am free. So, what are you holding on to that you cannot forgive but is hurting you right now? Today, I invite you to check in with your own body. Is there something your body may be carrying that no longer needs to be carried alone? A disappointment, a regret, a memory, a resentment, a fear, a grief? If so, gently acknowledge it. Then say, attention, physical body, if you identify as this feeling, this memory, or this burden, this message is for you. I love you wholeheartedly. Then pause and listen. Message from Shushu. My beloved Fasha, thank you for holding us together. I know the accident was hard on you. You were twisted, stretched, compressed, and pulled in ways nobody should ever experience. I know some places still hurt. I know some places still remember. Today I would like to rename those little bumps and tender spots left behind by the accident. From now on, they shall be known as the invisible inner dimples. Some people have dimples on their cheeks. We have dimples hidden beneath the skin. You may hurt sometimes, but you are also adorable and very cute. Whenever I find one beneath my fingers, I will smile and say, "Hello, little dimple, I see you." My dear Fasha, thank you for trying so hard to find your way home. I love you wholeheartedly. Shushu. How are we doing, guys? We all okay? So we have 20 minutes left, and then we'll see in what page we arrive. Okay, so we are on day 6, so it's 21 days. We are on day 6, talking to my spine. Day 6, talking to my spine. Your new 33-ish friends. Today we are going to meet the spine, all of it, every vertebra, one by one. Now I realize this may sound unusual. Most people think of the spine as a structure, a column, a collection of bones. I think of mine as a community. Why? Because after my brain injury, I became fascinated by the relationship between the brain and the body. Each part of the body is represented within the brain. And whenever you interpret what follows as imagination, symbolism, intuition, self-reflection, or something else entirely, I began discovering that each of my vertebrae seemed to have their own personalities. At first, I only spoke to them because I was in pain, a lot of pain. The accident twisted my body violently. My spine absorbed forces it was never meant to endure. The ligaments stretched. The muscles tightened. The pain is often intense. So I learned the names of my vertebrae. I started saying Ho'oponopono to them, one by one, patiently, day after day, sometimes for minutes, sometimes for hours. Sometimes for as long as it took for the pain to calm down. I love you. I am sorry. Please forgive me. Thank you. Eventually, something unexpected happened. The conversation stopped being about pain. We became friends. My atlas vertebra, C1, once shared that she felt exhausted from carrying the weight of my head all day. So I told her, "You don't have to carry it alone. The whole body is helping. You can trust us." And somehow Atlas felt happier after that. Then there is C3. C3 insists she's actually C3PO from Star Wars. She loves pretending. Apparently, she and the shoulder blades occasionally have their own intergalactic adventures where they have their own lightsabers. Blue lightsabers, in case you are wondering. My body is incredibly nerdy. And then there is L5. One day L5 informed me that she deserved credit for humans going to the moon. At first I laughed. Then she explained, when humans began walking upright, much of the body weight shifted to the lower spine, including L5. Human beings accepted the trade. The lower back would carry more responsibility, but the hands would become free. Free hands meant tools. Tools meant innovation. Innovation eventually meant rockets. And rockets eventually meant the moon. According to L5, the moon landing was a team effort. And she would appreciate some recognition. Honestly, I think she makes a compelling argument. Today, I invite you to meet your own spine. Not as a collection of bones, not as a medical diagram, but as a loyal structure that has supported you since the beginning. Or not. No judgment here. If your spine can no longer support your body and you are bedbound, I am sorry. I've been in that situation and I know how hard it is. Now take a deep breath and raise your awareness. Imagine your spine as people. They are you. From the base of your skull all the way to your tailbone, notice whether any area calls for your attention. Perhaps there is a vertebra that feels particularly important. Perhaps one seems tired. Perhaps one feels sassy. Perhaps one wants to tell a story. Ask, is there a vertebra that would like to introduce itself? Then listen. You do not need to force an answer. Simply allow your imagination, intuition, curiosity, or awareness to respond. You might be surprised by what, or better saying, who appears. You can imagine them receiving more brain power in emoji. Visualize little brain emojis attaching to each vertebra, then give them a little emoji microphone. What do they have to say about their experience of being you? What kind of host are you? Listen. A message from Chuchu. My beloved spine, thank you. Thank you for holding us upright. Thank you for bending without breaking. Thank you for carrying us through every season of life. Thank you for supporting us even during the times we forgot to support you. Today, I would like to visit each of you. Atlas, my dear C1, thank you for carrying the head for so many years. You once believed the entire burden belonged to you. You carried more weight than anyone should carry alone. Thank you for learning how to trust the body. Thank you for sharing the load. And today I ask you to forgive C2. You have disagreed for long enough. You are neighbors. You are family. And you are on the same team. May peace return between you. May the old beef finally rest. C2, thank you for listening. Thank you for staying. Thank you for helping us turn toward life. And now, a special greeting to C3, my dear C3PO. Thank you for keeping the galaxy safe. Thank you for your excellent droid impressions. Thank you for your dedication to Star Wars and dramatic storytelling. May your circuits remain operational. And to C4, T4, L4, and S4, the Force, the legendary alliance, the protectors of the galaxy, the spine's most powerful Star Wars enthusiasts. Thank you for your friendship. Thank you for your laughter. Thank you for reminding me that even vertebrae deserve adventures. May the Force be with you, always. To every cervical vertebra, every thoracic vertebra, every lumbar vertebra, every sacral vertebra, thank you. Thank you for every twist, especially that one that night. Ouch. I forgive the pain. Every bend, every step, every dance, every moment you carried us when we thought we could not continue. Today, Shushu presents a medal to each vertebra. The medal reads, "Thank you for supporting me." Wear it proudly. You have earned it. Then Shushu places her hand upon the spine and says, My beloved friends, you are not broken. You are not forgotten. You are not carrying this alone. I love you, every one of you. For a moment, the vertebrae smile. Atlas relaxes. C2 smiles back. C3PO adjusts her imaginary protocol droid outfit. The Force ignites their lightsabers. And somewhere deep within the body, a great column of gratitude shines from the base of the spine all the way to the sky. May the Force be with you. Oh, how are we doing, guys? We have 10 minutes left. I am on starting page 65. I want to do this one, the blood cells. And what we can do is we can continue next Sunday at the same time at 1 p.m. Eastern Time. We read for another couple hours and we'll see how far we can go. So the book, as it is right now, it's 130 pages. So I am halfway through half of it. I am halfway through it. And I think we're going at a good pace. I want to have an idea of how long it takes to read the entire book, so this helps a lot. Thank you for staying with me. All right, so day 7, talking to my blood cells. A herd of unicorns is called a blessing. Today we are going to meet the cells. If the spine is a community, the cell is a metropolis. When I imagine a cell, I do not imagine a biology textbook. I imagine a tiny city. A busy little world filled with workers, builders, messengers, caretakers, dreamers, and explorers. A city that never sleeps. A city devoted entirely to helping me stay alive. And then I take it one step further. I imagine that the city itself has a personality, a voice, a point of view, a story. So I speak to my cells, not because I expect them to answer, not because speaking to them fills me, but because speaking to them fills me with gratitude. Each cell is a self. Then I imagine all the little parts inside of the cell. And naturally, they become little people too. Very busy little people. Very opinionated little people. Very lovable little people. One of my favorite ways to communicate with them is through emojis. I imagine little emojis carrying messages throughout my body. Love emojis, heart emojis, gratitude emojis, peace emojis, healing emojis, star emojis. Tiny messengers delivering well wishes from one part of me to another. And then there are the unicorns. I love unicorns. In fact, one of my favorite discoveries in that group is that a group of unicorns is called a blessing. The moment I learned I could talk to my cells and myself, I knew exactly what to do. I began imagining every little cell receiving its own unicorn. One tiny unicorn per cell. Then I imagined the cell sharing its unicorn with all the little citizens living inside. Soon there are unicorns everywhere. Millions of them, perhaps billions. An entire body becoming a harbor of blessings. And something remarkable happens. My heart softens, my shoulders relax. My shoulders relax. Thank you. Pain feels less important. Fear becomes quieter. Shame loosens its grip. Sadness becomes gentler. Not because I solved anything, but because I remembered how to be kind to myself. For a few minutes, I stopped being a problem to fix and become a miracle to appreciate. Sometimes I imagine little unicorn horns appearing on all the cells. The cells seem delighted by this arrangement. Honestly, I think they look adorable. And before long, I find myself smiling. 5 minutes, 10 minutes, that's usually enough. Enough to fill my heart with joy. Enough to remember that wonder still exists. Enough to remember that I am alive. Today, I invite you to visit your own cellular metropolis. Raise your awareness. Imagine one cell, just one. Imagine greeting it. Imagine thanking it. Imagine asking, what would make today more joyful for you? Then send it a gift, a heart, a flower, a star, a rainbow, a plant, a unicorn, whatever feels right. And then allow that gift to spread, cell to cell, neighbor to neighbor, until your entire body becomes a place where kindness thrives. Because before you finish today, place a hand over your heart and say, to every cell that supports my life, thank you. Thank you for your work. Thank you for your resilience. Thank you for your creativity. Thank you for helping me become who I am. May you receive kindness. May you receive joy. May you receive a blessing. And if that blessing arrives in the form of a unicorn, please make room for one more. A message from Shushu. My beloved cells, thank you. Thank you for building this body one moment at a time. Thank you for repairing what is damaged. Thank you for carrying life from one day to the next. Thank you for continuing your work even when we forget we are there. When we forget you are there. Today, I would like to offer each of you a gift, a medal. Not for being perfect, not for working the hardest, not for never making mistakes. A medal for simply showing up. One by one, Shushu walks through the great city of the cells. She places an I love you medal around every neck. The skin cells receive one, the muscle cells receive one, the bone cells receive one, the nerve cells receive one, the blood cells receive one. No cell is forgotten. No cell is left behind. Then Shushu arrives at the white blood cells, the little guardians, the little protectors, the little fighters. The ones who rush towards danger when the rest of the body needs help. The ones who work through the night. The ones who stand watch while we sleep. The ones who protect this beautiful community called me. Shushu smiles. She reaches into her pockets and pulls out a special medal. It reads, Courage. She places it gently around the neck of each white blood cell. Then she whispers, My brave little guardians, thank you for protecting us. Thank you for helping us heal. Thank you for showing up when we need you most. You are loved. You are appreciated. You are not alone. The white blood cells stand a little taller. The unicorns cheer. The DNA dancers twirl. the cells giggle, and for one brief moment the entire body shines together. A harbor of blessings, a city of compassion, a constellation of tiny lives working together to carry you through this world. And Shushu loves every single one of them. Hello. So it's 3 p.m. Eastern time. I am gonna stop for now. I am on page 70, and the book has 130 pages. So I would probably take another couple hours for me to finish, and I'm getting tired. So how are we doing? Thank you guys for staying. Thank you for listening, and thank you for your support. So the book, The Inner Mediator, is available on Amazon. You can buy it on Kindle. I am working on the hardcover. I don't have the hardcover yet. It's going to be available probably in the next couple weeks. I'll let you guys know. If you follow my page, I will let you guys know. It's almost done. I just found a typo while I was reading this out loud. This helps. So I also have other news. The book is being translated to other languages. When I'm done doing the hardcover part, I will translate it to Portuguese. And then there is someone translating it to French and another person translating it to German. So these are my close friends, and I am forever indebted to them. I am so these are people from the Space Croissant crew. We are a group of Reiki practitioners that meet on Reiki Share every Sunday for the past 5 years, and they are my beta testers as well. So I want to thank you all, and thank you for your support. And that's it. So I hope you guys liked it. And I'm a little bit tired. And hold on. So I got 70 pages in 2 hours. That's not bad. That means I can finish the book in 1 day. Oh, big hug, my love. Thank you. Thank you. I was very happy that there is someone here watching this that knows the story about Libya and how we helped that project, the postcards for Libya, and I got to read for them. And thank you so much, guys. All right, so do you guys have any questions before I go? Do you have any comments or anything you would like to say before I close? My cheeks hurt because I smiled too much. Okay, so I'll be closing it then. All right, you guys take care. Thank you so much, and I'll see you at the same time next Sunday at 1 p.m. Eastern time. I'm gonna read probably the rest of the book. I think we can finish the book in a couple hours. Okay, I will. So I read from page 1 to page 70. And we got to talk a message from Shushu right after talking to ourselves. So we are on day 7 talking to our blood cells. And do it at home. Imagine little unicorn emojis, giving unicorn emojis to your hearts, and then from the heart going to your cells and spreading through all your body, and then see what happens, what kind of sensations you feel, and let me know next week when we talk. I will be pulling Ho'oponopono cards. I haven't done one today yet. Maybe I should do it now. Let's do one. T7! Hi, T7. I love you. I'm sorry. I didn't talk about you in the book. Thank you. I'm grateful for you. I'm sorry about the pain. Please forgive me about the pain. Please forgive me. You are a good girl. Thank you. There you go. So today I'm going to put T7 here and she's going to be the one I'm going to play with. All right, guys, I'll let you guys go. Big hug and have a wonderful rest of your day. Take care. Bye-bye.